I tweeted earlier. Let me just show you what I tweeted. I tweeted earlier at YouTube. And by the way, I don't have the time to like really deep dive into this, but it seems every time that I criticize YouTube publicly, we get throttled. This channel gets throttled more. So you might say, well, Jordan, stop criticizing YouTube if they're throttling you more. Well, no, I'm not going to just gag myself and pretend that what is happening isn't happening. YouTube, as I tweeted, it's a sad commentary that it's simply accepted that big tech like YouTube are suppressing independent news. And I showed just a recent example. I don't know if you could see this. Here you go. I showed a recent example. I mean, look at those views. We have 108,000 subscribers, 230 views in like a half hour, 607 views in 2 hours. Yesterday, I went live for 4 hours doing a marathon live stream on a Sunday. This is not just about Status Coup. I want to make that clear. This is not just about Status Coup. This is about the freedom of the press, First Amendment. No, Status Coup based on the First Amendment is not constitutionally protected to get a certain amount of views on YouTube. That's not what I'm saying. But it is abundantly clear, and YouTube has basically openly said this. It is abundantly clear that YouTube has, and it's not just YouTube, by the way, it's Twitter, Facebook, we don't even bother with anymore because nobody even sees us there. They have rigged, and I think you kind of lose people with the term algorithm. So let's just forget algorithm. They have rigged their system. They have rigged their system. This platform has rigged its system to basically elevate, meaning more prominently show MSNBC, CNN, like, 10 years ago, Wolf Blitzer would get like 1,000 views. Now he's getting hundreds of thousands. Did people suddenly start loving Wolf Blitzer on YouTube? And they are doing this. They are essentially rigging the algorithm to flood your feed to, if a Jimmy Dore video ends, instead of it going to another Jimmy Dore video or going to another channel that's similar to Jimmy Dore, it goes to like Rachel Maddow. Do you not see what they're doing? I mean, literally, we had John, our cameraman, live from a Breonna Taylor, the 1-year anniversary rally of her murder. We have 108,000 subscribers. We maxed out at 150 live viewers. That's not because people don't care about Breonna Taylor a year after her murder, still without justice. It's because people don't see that we're live. People don't even know we're live. I mean, John was live from a rally in New York City covering New York workers rallying in solidarity with the Amazon workers in Alabama trying to unionize. I don't even think we got over 100 live viewers live. It's not possible for a channel with this size unless the majority of its subscribers aren't seeing when they're live, aren't getting the shorter videos, we're not recommended. And why this is much bigger than Status Coup, of course, like we are Status Coup, so we're interested in what's happening to us. But why this is much bigger than Status Coup, you can't actually have change in America or any country. You cannot actually have change if the problems, if the corruption, if the injustices are being hidden from the public. That's what YouTube is doing. When I do an interview on the water crisis in Jackson, Mississippi, and it gets 600 views, well, who is that hurting? Yes, it's hurting me. It's hurting Status Coup because we're not getting any views, meaning we can't make any money and grow our business. But it's hurting Mississippi. It's hurting the people of Jackson who don't have clean water. When YouTube throttles and hides live streams and shorter videos on Amazon's union busting, or Amazon literally having employees conducting COVID testing. We broke that story. 38-year-old Pashawn Brown suddenly died at the age of 38, didn't have any health problems because well, I don't want to say because we don't know if she had COVID because the family couldn't afford an autopsy. But we broke that story that Amazon had this woman, a worker, testing other workers and has workers COVID testing other workers, not doctors, no medical training. It barely got any play. And I know what the devil's advocate is. Well, Jordan, why don't you try other things? Why don't you try Rockfin? Why don't you try other platforms? We're doing all that. We're live right now on Rockfin. We've been posting our videos on Rockfin. But the problem is, and no disrespect to Rockfin, I know Graham Elwood and others are on it and really champion it, and we're for it. But the problem is, unfortunately, Rockfin and platforms like it are just not at the point where it has the same reach. So what's the answer? I'm seeing, well, Jordan, go to Twitch, go here. This is not. I'm telling you, folks, we've talked about all these things behind closed doors. It's not as simple as you think. There isn't a one-size-fits-all answer. Yes, don't rely completely on YouTube. That is why, from the beginning, we've actually built our business not exclusively focused on YouTube subscribers, but more focused on paid membership. We focused on building up our paid members. If you are a member, you know what we're talking about. You could become a member for as low as $5 a month. statuscoup.com/join. It's literally so we could fund the independent investigative journalism, so we could travel and all those things. statuscoup.com/join. We'll put the link in the super chat. But the point of all this, because I don't want to go on an endless monologue, is this should be treated as a scandal. The fact that YouTube, the fact that Twitter, the fact that Facebook are essentially picking winners and losers and burying alternative voices. Let's not just talk about the term progressive. Let's not just say they're burying progressive. They're trying to bury anti-war voices. They're trying to bury anti-capitalist voices. They're trying to bury, anti-fossil fuel voices. They're trying to bury anti-Wall Street voices. They're trying to bury anti-police voices. You can't call your company YouTube if in reality it's FuTube. And I understand that outlets need to, monitor extremism and white supremacy and all those things. That's fine. I'm not saying let neo-Nazis run rampant all over the internet, but they have used that as an excuse to basically bury independent media. And let's also not be naive, folks. YouTube has a financial interest in burying independent outlets. Why is that? Because YouTube put all of its apples into YouTube TV. You know what YouTube TV is? For many years, and by the way, my old employer, the Young Turks, put a lot of its apples on YouTube TV. And frankly, YouTube TV has been a colossal failure. So when I hear people responding to the tweets and responding to this about, well, Jordan, go to Rockfin, go to Twitch, go to this. Yeah, we're doing all those things. Right now, we're working on a strategy to start doing more stuff exclusively on Twitch. But the point is, we should not simply accept this because it's not right. Listen, if there was no YouTube algorithm, if they were not burying us and lifting CNN and Fox News and all these other channels, we'd be at 500,000 subscribers very easily right now. You want to know how I know that? Because when I was at the Young Turks in 2016 and 2017, I built the fastest growing channel they ever had. It wasn't because I'm so wonderful. It was because there's a huge hunger and demand for actual living, breathing journalism. There's a huge hunger and demand for journalists to leave their studios and go to Flint and Standing Rock and Mississippi and Texas and all the places we've been. I could give you a whole long list over the last 3 years. We've been where no one else is going because we give a damn and we are journalists. We're not just looking to do commentary from our studio. I'm not knocking those who only do that, but there is a dire hunger and a dire need for this kind of journalism. But the thing is, how are you supposed to do that journalism if there's no guarantee people could see it? I know for a fact, if we would have started this channel let's say in 2014, 2015, before YouTube changed all of this algorithm stuff, before YouTube rigged its entire algorithm to basically bury independent news and, blow CNN and MSNBC, because that's what's going on here, we probably would be over 1 million subscribers by now. Let people, they use the term creators, whatever. Let people sink or swim on the same level. Let Status Coup, Jimmy Dore, the Young Turks, you name it, even the right wingers, let people have equal access to the content. Don't favor certain corporate channels while burying independent outlets. Technically, if you want to get legal, can they do it? Yeah, they can. They are private. But this isn't about what technically, legally is allowed. This is about, do we live in a country that actually wants real journalism? Do we live in a country where alternative views are okay? Where alternative, criticisms of war, criticisms of police, criticisms of capitalism. Obviously, this is a rhetorical question because we don't fucking live in that country. We don't even live in a country. We live in the United Corporations of America. Let me repeat that. We live in the United Corporations of America. And frankly, I'm sick and tired of working 7 days a week for YouTube to basically bury our work. Listen, the truth is, if a video on Jackson, Mississippi's water crisis is never going to get the same views as whatever stupid thing Donald Trump did or tweeted. Okay? It's not, because we do live in a country that skews towards sensationalism. That I get. And we didn't create Status Coup to go viral. Actually, we hurt ourselves financially by not doing. Let me tell you something. Over the last 4 or 5 years, if we did what everyone else was doing, if we just did 50 videos on Donald Trump a week, if we did 50 videos on Russia and the Russian boogeyman, if we did videos on Stormy Daniels and all this bullshit, YouTube wouldn't be throttling us at all. Trust me, they wouldn't be throttling us at all. In fact, we'd be doing a lot better financially. But we chose not to do that. We don't really do many hot takes here. We know when we do videos on Mississippi Flint, they're not going to get that. They're not going to get 1 million views because it's just not in the news right now. And it's intentional that it's not in the news. We spoke with Matt Taibbi about why are these things not covered? Because it's not in these corporations' business interests to cover them. But there's a difference between accepting that certain things are not going to get a high level of eyeballs and accepting that certain platforms are actually working to throttle your content, that certain outlets are working to suppress your views. And I say this for everything from investigative journalism to Jamal Thomas, who we like, doing a video on UFOs, right? This is for everybody. It's not just like investigative journalists, commentators. They're even doing this in some cases to people who have channels on sports channels or pop culture channels or entertainment channels. If you're not corporate, they're suppressing them too. So at a certain point, why are we accepting this? Let me repeat that. Why are we accepting this? Why is there not on the left organized protests against YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, CNN, MSNBC for the rigging of the information system? We talked about GameStop, for example, and GameStop was such a hot story because so many people that weren't aware suddenly became aware that the entire Wall Street system is completely rigged. Completely rigged. Well, how is this any different, folks? They talk about Wall Street speculation. How is it any different when the actual platform that presents itself as YouTube, meaning you or anyone could come on here and grow an audience and earn a living, and anyone could do it. As long as your content's good, as long as you're interesting, as long as you do this, that, or the other thing, anybody could grow. But that's not the truth anymore. And YouTube made it not the truth anymore. YouTube has made it that not everyone could succeed. In fact, most people cannot succeed here. I was talking to Jimmy Dore. Privately, And he actually said to me, honestly, it's miraculous that you've even gotten past 100,000 subscribers with the shit they've been doing to you. We've only gotten past 100,000 subscribers by sheer just 7 days a week. You know how hard I work? You guys don't see it because I'm not live every day. I'm behind the scenes. I've been working 7 days a week, 16 hours a day on a major investigative story that's coming out soon. Jen works very hard. Everybody here works very hard. And it is scandalous that in a supposed democracy, you have big tech platforms literally burying alternative voices. And by the way, I don't want to hear a word from YouTube. Excuse my French. I don't want to hear a word from YouTube or Twitter or this. Well, you know, the election's over, so yeah, there's less eyeballs on things. No. This has been going on for a long, long time. Okay. This is not, the views are not dramatically down simply because the election's over and less people care. And I got to tell you, and I'm just going to say it, and it might lose me some friends, but I don't give a damn. Kyle needs to start talking about this more. Crystal Ball Sagar, they should talk about this more. Jimmy should talk about this more. We should all be talking about this more. We should all be coming together. And yeah, I am affected way more than any of them. But I'm telling you, and I like all of these people, so this isn't a criticism of any one person. But Kyle, Crystal, Jimmy, all of you, if you think that you're safe, if you think that a day is not coming where they could just get rid of your channel, you're mistaken. You are mistaken. And I want to be clear. I don't think any of these people I'm mentioning, I don't care. Kyle has said things in the past and done videos on what YouTube is doing. Jimmy has clearly. But I think we're at a point now, part of the problem just in America is too many abnormal things have been normalized. You know, whole communities not having clean water for years. That's just normal now. You know, all of our money being stolen and all of our money going from the bottom to the top. That's just the price of doing business here in America. And it's become normalized. It's become normalized that essentially big tech is rigging the entire information system to stuff your feed with Wolf Blitzer, Rachel Maddow, Anderson Cooper, Joe and Mika, and the rest of the usual suspects. And that should be scandalous. It was scandalous when they did it in 2017. It remains scandalous now. And I don't want to say too much, but I happen to know somebody that, lucky enough, literally got a meeting with people from YouTube. It's easier to get a meeting with the CIA than to get anyone from YouTube on the phone. And this person got a meeting recently with YouTube, and YouTube basically gave them a bunch of bull. But the real key here is a very clear point. YouTube and Twitter and Twitch and Facebook, they all love to say, no, we're not publishers. We're platforms. We're platforms. We're not publishers. We're not editorial publishers. And they do that so that they won't be regulated. That's what Section 230, which, you know, Trump was tweeting, get rid of Section 230. I don't want to bore you with the details, but Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act basically gives YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all these platforms blanket immunity for anything published on their site. When I was smeared, if you remember, in 2017, and complete false accusation was made against me, the reason that when I tried to sue the Huffington Post for publishing that false accusation against me, the reason that I basically had to drop it was because the Section 230 law basically protects outlets like the Huffington Post, even if point blank defamation is published on their platforms. They could say, well, in my case, it was a blogger who wrote it, not a full-time employee. But the point is, why should YouTube get away with saying they're a platform and not a publisher if they're making decisions that publishers make? When YouTube decides we're going to elevate, and they said this publicly, they said we're going to elevate authoritative news. They literally said this. It's in a blog post. We're going to elevate authoritative news like CNN and Fox News. Yes, those are the outlets that they used. They left out the rest of it, which was, we're going to bury the rest of you. That's not a platform. That's a publisher. You're making an editorial decision that certain news is more trustworthy, while others, are borderline. If you want to make those decisions, then you should be regulated, because you're no longer operating as a platform. You're operating as a publisher who's making editorial decisions. And you want to know who suffers the most here? Because Status Coup, I'm just being very clear. Our revenue numbers from February and so far this month are the worst they've ever been on YouTube, including when we started. I think in February, we might have made like $1,500 on YouTube, which is really bad. It's much less than we normally make. And this month, we're down significantly. And why is this important? A, we can't survive with that. But B, who suffers the most? Is it Status Coup? No, it's Flint, Michigan. It's Jackson, Mississippi. It's Texas. It's all of the communities that we've gone because they already don't have anyone covering them. They already barely have eyeballs on their suffering, on the corruption, on the injustice. Already. The true nature and what's actually happening in America, community to community, has no news coverage. And now YouTube's going to bury the only channels that are actually providing that news coverage? You, the viewer, should be outraged about this. Not on behalf of me and Status Coup, because frankly, whether you like me or not everyone does, that's fine. This is not only about Status Coup. It's not only about Secular Talk or Jimmy Dore or any of these. It's about the entire system in the United Corporations of America. You cannot, let me take my glasses off to make a point. You cannot achieve big things legislatively. You cannot achieve big things socially. You cannot achieve big things in terms of a movement if the majority of people have no idea what is going on. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.